So we set, because I didn't like the way this was going. But we're talking about the history of gas lighting. Not gaslighting, but the gas lighting system that, you know, the street lights and everything that used to be use gas. So you want to hear more about what I previously read, go back and watch the first video. I'll restart this one though because it's interesting, this part. Chinese records dating back 1700 years indicate the use of natural gas in homes for lighting and heating. If that doesn't like stop you in your tracks and make you think, wait, what the fuck? 1700 years ago. That's weird. The natural gas was transported by means of bamboo pipes to homes. Do you guys remember learning about this in school? Do you guys remember learning about how the Chinese used bamboo pipes to run gas lines 1700 years ago? Seems like I would have remembered that. The Chinese of the spring and autumn period, which is a thing, blue thing, spring and autumn period, made the first practical use of natural gas for lighting purposes around 500 BC. So, again, this is like how Israel will report the death toll in Palestine, right? They'll say things like 270 Palestinians were killed in 2023, along with another 165 that were killed in this incident, and another, 200 killed in this incident. They like break it up so it doesn't sound as bad or something. I don't really know. But even here, why would you say Chinese records dating back to 1700 years, indicate the use of natural gas in homes for lighting? And then be like, oh yeah, but before that, their records date back to 500 BC for using it. Like, what was the point of the 1700 part? Is this confusing? I don't know. Made the first practical use of natural gas for lighting purposes around 500 BC, in which they used bamboo pipelines to transport both brine and natural gas for many miles, such as the ones in Zigong salt mine. Zigong salt mine. These aren't just like you just, oh, okay, yeah, all right. Ask yourself what I'm fucking reading right here. Are you serious? 500 BC? 2,500 years ago? They were running bamboo pipelines for natural gas to light and heat. Where was this shit in school? And like you'll always see with these narratives, there'll be like this ancient Chinese version of it, and then like the white history, the European history is like this separate thing, where they then somehow, like in 500 BC, the Chinese are using gas to light and heat their homes. What do we, like, how come that didn't spread all over? Holy shit, look what these guys are capable of doing. And how come the Europeans don't get it until so, and now this is weird, but public illumination preceded by centuries the development of widespread adoption of gaslighting. I don't really know what that sentence is supposed to mean. It's just a weird sentence thrown in, because then it's like in 1417, Sir Henry Barton, Lord Mayor of London, ordained lanthorns with lights to be hanged on the winter evening betwixt Hallowtide and Candlemas. Like, what the fuck is that? How did they connect the bamboo pipes together? How did they get the gas? Where did they get the gas from and then pumped it through the streets? I mean, even something like the Paris clock system, which is not the first pneumatic clock system to exist in a city, but this is from the late 18s, where they have a universal clock system that is run by air power. And it's just, what? What are we talking about? Who ran all these lines underneath the streets into the houses so that the air could even be pushed through in the first place? What was pushing the air through? Who invented this shit? Paris was first illuminated by an order issued in 1524, and in the beginning of the 16th century, the inhabitants were ordered to keep lights burning in the windows of all houses that faced streets. They had this abundance of natural gas that they could just require people to leave their lights on all night. Like, think about this. How does this make any sense to anybody? What up, everyone? Respect from Philly. What's up, Philly? Hope you're smarter than the average fucking idiot on here. I mean, I know you're not some slave of yours, boy. It's an interesting game. Okay. In 1666, when some regulations were made for improving the streets of London, the residents were reminded to hang their lanterns at the usual time. And in 1690, again, 22 years later, like the thing about ancient history that they get away with all the time is they do these numbers like this, and you just don't think about, because it's so long ago, it's all, if it all happened in the 1600s, you don't think about the 1600s as this 100-year fucking century. It's just all in the 1600s. It's all just this weird, you just don't think about it that deeply. But this is jumping from, we went from 1417 to 1524 to 1668. Morning.
Have a good day.
You do the same. And now we're jumping to 1690. An order was issued to hang out a light or lamp every night at nightfall from Michaelmas to Christmas. Michaelmas is something I'd never heard of. What's up, John? Nice to meet you. By an act, well, let me just start by telling you, the main purpose of this feed is that we need to kill pedos and eliminate the chosen friar control scheme that's committing genocide right now and pulls all the strings, does all the pedophilia in Hollywood, government, you know who. So we are proud of our anti-Semitism here. I want to hear more about the Chinese having gas in 500 BC. Don't you though? We don't get any more. By an act of the Common Council in 1716, all housekeepers whose house faced any street, lane, or passage were required to hang out every dark night one or more lights to burn from 6 to 11 o'clock under the penalty of 1 shilling as a fine for failing to do so. What is a dark night? Have you ever heard of somebody refer to it like that before? Every dark night? Like even nights where the moon is out and the stuff, you know, it's a clear night. It's still dark. What the fuck you talking about? Every dark night. Is that a term you guys have heard used before? I've never heard anybody say that before, other than Batman. Accumulating and escaping gases were known originally among coal miners for their adverse effects rather than their useful characteristics. Coal miners described two types of gases, one called the choke damp and the other fire damp. In 1667, a paper detailing the effects of these gases was entitled A Description of a Well and Earth in Lancaster Taking Fire by a Candle Approaching to It, imparted by Thomas Shirley, Esquire, an eyewitness. And that paper from 1667 still exists. Somebody was like, hey, let's keep this paper, let's laminate it and make sure it's kept so that in 2025 some guy can be reading fucking Wikipedia and it shows up, right? Shut up, Karen. 1 Timothy 2:12, Karen. 1 Timothy 2:12. Shut the fuck up. British clergyman and scientist Stephen Hales experimented with the actual distillation of coal, thereby obtaining a flammable liquid. Yep, and again, somebody was like, don't forget to write down good old Stephen Hale. He reported his results in the first volume of his Vegetable Statistics, published in 1726. As always, I have to ask, who were the publishing houses back in 1726? What was their distribution network like? How did that work? How did all of that? 1726? They had a publishing house. You could take your book to said publishing house and be like, hey, you guys want to publish my book? And they would be like, yeah, we're going to publish this. And then we'll distribute it throughout the world with our, homing pigeons network or some shit. How did this work? See, I love how stupid Sharon Karen is, right? Because she's actually proving a great point here, right? She says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understandings, right? It's about being stupid. Trust in this voice in your head, this narrative that's been rewritten a bunch of times. Because again, let's ask Sharon, hey, why are you a Christian over a Muslim? What proof do you have that Islam isn't true? Why do you subscribe to Christianity over Islam? We'll see what kind of dumb answer she says, but I already think I know what it is. I'll know what it is. It has to do with God being a whiny little brat. But this level of stupidity, this is what they need us to be. Don't trust in your own research. Don't try to figure things out for yourself. Just trust the narrative that you're told. Just trust this homophobic, sexist, racist, supremacist narrative. Oh, and don't look into the narrative too much, because then you'll start to see it's a bunch of bullshit. At the end of the day, you're supposed to trust that the Jews will lead you to salvation. And if you don't trust that, you try to get your own understanding. Like this person literally just said, stop trying to educate yourself and just follow the rules given to you by the Jewish fairy tale. Because that's all it is. You know, this is part of that shit, just like 1 Timothy 2:12, where she's not going to acknowledge what's being said. You know, the Bible is all Jewish. All the characters, all the main characters in the Bible are Jewish, including Jesus. They talk about the Gentiles as a separate group that don't get any sort of advantages. The Gentiles are just the slaves. And yet, for some reason, that's your shit, huh? Stop it. Oh, now I'm whining. Now I'm whining. Again, this is the stupidity that it requires, that they require of us. This person doesn't even know the thing that they're trying to push. She doesn't know the Bible. She doesn't know the religious anything. She knows, she's like a Monday morning quarterback. She knows the bits and pieces she's supposed to know, and that's it. And she's not capable of thinking for herself because she's never been encouraged to. You know? And she's trying to get me to do the same thing. Like, don't think for yourself. Just follow the rules. Gotta believe in those chosen people. Why don't you just accept your programming like Karen? I definitely should. Other than that, it doesn't make any sense, and it's really stupid part. I clearly this is, wow. Wow, Karen is so discombobulated right now. Karen is so discombobulated right now that she's going back to like Garfield and shit. Looks like you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That's pretty embarrassing. But that's exactly why 1 Timothy 2:12 exists. Because they know, unfortunately, women have been made to be so stupid that they shouldn't even be in the conversation. What are you even doing here? You are so woefully unprepared. It's amazing how like, ask for the example. Hey, show me some stupid people. And you're like, me. Come on, let's go. Mo! Yeah, and that's the other thing. You're right. I'm not in a bad mood. Go. Waking up on the wrong side of the bed is you being in a bad mood. Come on, let's go. Come on, old top. Up. Go. Try again. Come on, let's go. Up. Go, dummy. Come on, let's go. One more time. Let's go. Up. Go, man, go. Dog's old. You gonna try again? Let's go. Up. You almost got it. Come on, this leg, you got it. Come on. Up. Go. Go. Gonna keep going in circles, huh? Up. Come on. There you go. You got it. Up. This leg. Come on, go. He's right-legged. But his brain isn't working right, so it keeps lifting up the left leg and it freaks him out. Go. Come on, Mo. Let's go. Go, man. Go. Other leg. Go. Come on. Go. You're not going to go this time. Go. You just stumbled. Okay. Let's try it again. Come on. Up. There you go. Oh, nope. Halfway. Try again. Come on. Up. Go, buddy. There you go. Come on. Oh, you're going to hang out? Cool. Works for me. He's a New Yorker, of course. Yes, I am, of course, a New Yorker. This is how dumb this broad is. Okay. I'm being sexist because of your sexist Bible. Can you just hang on? I got it.
What?
Forget it. I gotta go pee.
Oh.
I need you to hold the phone for a second.
Oh, okay. Let me call you back.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's fine. I just hung up with her.
Okay. You didn't need to.
What?
Women in the Bible.
Oh, God. Yeah, well, they're slaves. Yeah, we're fucking slaves according to the Bible. Fuck that piece of shit book. Sorry, guys. Fuck that piece of shit book. It is so. My husband has read so many excerpts out of that stupid ass book. And I have listened to hours of it. Hours, people. And this is, I met him as an adult. So I had many years of my own exploration prior to even knowing him. But there has not been one passage or chapter or book or whatever the fuck you want to call it. There's not been one part that he has ever read that I've been like, oh, that's pretty good. That's solid.
Wow.
That's the way to be.
That's enlightening.
No, there's not been a paragraph, a sentence, fucking none of it.
Nothing.
So fuck that book. It's fucking stupid.
We have a woman who decided she would come on here and talk about it, and does nothing but prove the point.
Yeah, go read it, please.
I want to be ninja. I can't wait to sing that to your girlfriend. Bruh. Bruh. Anyway, so British clergyman, blah, blah, blah. From the distillation of 158 grains, that's 10.2 grams, of Newcastle coal, he stated that he obtained 180 cubic inches, 2.9 liters of gas, which weighed 51 grains, 3.3 grams, being nearly 1/3 of the whole. Well, that sounds very inefficient. Very inefficient. Look at the judgmental dumbass Christian female. She has to keep telling herself stuff. Like, this is what you always see with people who can't make arguments, right? They can't argue against what you're saying, so they start, so what you're saying is, so they start making up their own things. Yeah. I'm crying. Look at me cry. I'm crying because I'm like, hey, isn't there way too much pedophilia for the church to be legitimate? And she's like, nope, there's just the right amount. Atheist and I'm Republican. Deal with that. Wow, that's weird. Why are you a Republican? Because I have, bro. I have. I've been in submarines. I bet you have. I bet you have. Like, look at all these comments. Isn't it amazing how instead of like making any sort of reasonable arguments, again, does anybody think that these people are just holding on to their best argument for some point? They haven't said it yet, they're holding on to it. She just said, have you seen Mars? Oh, Democrat behavior, like, just so stupid. I'm given choices. Usually I'm given 2 choices, so I picks one, because that's what they want me to do. Have you seen Mars? No, no one has. No one ever will. But it's funny that the Christian is going to bring that up, because I bet you the Christian believes we live on a round earth, flying through infinite space. Yes, it's a fascinating piece of engineering history. China had rudimentary gas pipes as early as the Han Dynasty. Nope, more than that. And it technologically persisted well into the 1700s. No, you're wrong. It's literally saying that it's 500 years, 500 BC. But just because it says it doesn't, like, yeah, it says it and it's incredible. You're like, wow, that's amazing. But it's the same thing that happens when you go like downtown in whatever city you live in and you see the old skyscrapers or you see the old churches and shit. And you go, wow, that's amazing. How did they do that? And then somehow you just, your brain just, well, they did. And that somehow becomes acceptable. Yeah. Because I'm the one that makes my video pixelated. I love when people start hiding behind that one. Like I can affect the pixelation of my video or not. I'm in a suburban area surrounded by fucking cell phone towers. They're everywhere. It's flat where I am. There's no reason why my feed shouldn't work perfectly. But instead of thinking about, well, then what could that be? And then answering the question, you just go with like somehow it's me. You are protecting pedos every day, bro. Yes, I sure am. By calling for their execution and outing them when they come on my feed all the time, I am definitely protecting them. Seeing isn't believing. Believing is seeing. This is another one of these dumb Christian sayings that don't make any sense. She tried to go with the Mars thing, but it didn't work out. So she just like skipped the, well, you don't see Mars, but you know it's there, right? Blah, blah. She skipped over that part. But again, this is a dumb Christian who thinks the earth is round. Like, why didn't Jesus come down and be like, hey, you guys, you're on a planet that's spinning around 67,000 miles per hour around the sun. It spins at 1,000 miles per hour, but it revolves around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. And it's just one of an infinite number of planets in an infinite space and blah, blah. How come they didn't say that? And believe in the round earth. Where does God live? God's supposed to be above the firmament, which is above the cloud layer. But if there is no firmament, then I guess your God can't live there, right? Hey, they adjusted it. They finally said pipe. Joined 10 months ago, no subscribers. He didn't say bong like they always do. Interesting how that works. Negativity, yeah. Oh, so we've got a pedophile. Now Sharon's admitting she's a pedophile. How come you are always on here when I'm talking shit? Oh, taking a shit. Because you're full of shit. I can't fucking see it. LOL, Jeff. Poop. More proof that we're dealing with dumb fucking friars, man. Poop jokes, retarded jokes. This is the extent of their creativity. They're not the philosophers like a Dave Chappelle or a Patrice or a Cat Williams to an extent. These are, this is the best they can do. Watch the Opie and Andy show, right? Back when Patrice was on it, that's what made the show. That's what gave them the fame, is having the legitimacy of having Patrice there, who was the clear leader and the philosopher of the group. Because when Opie and Andy are trying to be funny, they're saying poop jokes. They're making outrageous making outrageous statements for shock value. And then when Patrice starts talking, they'll be like, man, you are so insightful, Patrice. We just love you so much. But that's how that works. These are not creative, intelligent people. You know, these are the most inbred, dumbest fucking people of all time. Think about it, man. They make up 0.2%, or they make up 0.183% of the world's population. And they're very strict about marrying in the circle, marrying in the group. So the inbreeding is just, it has to be atrocious at this point, which is why there's such physically inferior human specimens. Busted eyes, no hair, short, unathletic, all these fucking, oh, I'm allergies and all this other stupid shit. They look like the opposite of evolution. And it's due to the inbreeding, you know. I whine. Yes, I'm whining when you don't agree with me because, again, I know more than you do. That would be downgrading. Again, this is what people do, right? Look, again, if they could debunk or even argue anything I'm saying, they would. That would be, everybody knows it would be so much more effective to you know, destroy the ego of someone like me by making me look stupid than taking the schoolyard childish, oh, well, you're stupid kind of, you know. Everybody knows that. If I'm wrong about shit, why do they have to make up arguments and shit all the time? Why don't they just focus on what I'm getting wrong? Why do they never say anything about, fuck yeah, we should kill pedos? Why do they never ever say anything about we should eliminate the J control scheme, the Friar control scheme? The Friars committing genocide right now. They never ever seem to oppose that. Gee, I wonder why. It's really obvious, and it's obvious again because they're so stupid. They're not smart enough to come up with you know, a better ruse, to come up with some sort of, you know, clever thing where they can, you know, manipulate one way or another. They're so stupid that they say things like, if you open up the books on Israel, you demonize Israel. Back in 2022, when the UN was talking about just that, opening the books on Israel, because clearly this was no longer a temporary occupation, and, you know, some questions were being asked, like, how the fuck, you know, this clearly isn't temporary. You guys are here to stay, and you're really doing some horrible shit. So, you know, let's open up the books and see what it has to say. And Israel's response was, well, if you open up the books on Israel, you demonize Israel. And surprisingly, it worked. But it's, well, unsurprisingly, I guess, because we know who pulls the strings. But you can't demonize someone who's doing the right things. Like, these fuckers can talk all the shit they want. I'm right. That's why they can't address what I'm saying, because I'm right. And everything that's said in opposition to me says a lot more than maybe what's on the surface. The obvious question is, who's going to oppose pedos? Same people that are, who's going to support a pedo like Trump? With everything that's going on, with him being at the very least guilty of association, cover up, you know, all sorts of connections to pedophiles, but at the very least covering it up. Why would he still get your support? I know if my very best friend for all of my life, if I found kiddie porn on my kids, if I found child exploitation materials on my kid's phone, I would call the cops. I would call the cops on my own kid. You know, if I was at a party where someone was hired to come cut and then suck on a baby penis, I would call the cops. If I found out that that was a ritual in my group, even if it wasn't a common ritual, but it was a ritual that at the very least everybody just accommodated and turned a blind eye to, I would no longer be a part of that group. That would be a deal breaker. So when you have a convicted rapist like Trump as the president, and he's bragging about how if he wasn't married, he would have no problem banging 24-year-olds. And when asked, well, do you even have a limit? He says, no. Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to get caught fooling around with a 12-year-old like what's his name. You know, you have just way too many. Somebody in that position, for me, is going to have to absolutely prove how you don't just have one connection, you have multiple connections to this. Show me how you're not a fucking pedo. I mean, even if I don't even think I'd give you the opportunity to show me. There's more than enough there for me to make my assumptions. But even if you're close to me, then maybe I guess I'm going to give you a chance to explain it. But you better come up with some really good explanations. And yet all of these Trump supporters are just like, yay, Trump. And it also just happens to be the people that support Israel. And in this case, it's all just fucking fake, you know, fake profiles, fake bullshit on my feed. Who else is going to be here? Answer the question. I guarantee if you ask any of these people why they're here, what motivates them to be here, they're not going to have an answer. The use of natural gas in China likely stretches back well over 2,000 years, probably even earlier than the Han Dynasty. The earliest documented systems were in the Sichuan province. Okay, so that means you believe this part of the history you're given, right? You asked AI if it could have been longer. But that, you know, this is what it comes down to. At the end of the day, I know you personally, Will, don't believe that Oswald shot Kennedy with getting off 3 shots and a bolt-action rifle in 8 seconds, one of which is the magic bullet. I know you don't believe 19 hijackers hijacked a bunch of planes, crashed them into buildings, and then were found alive after the fact. I know you don't buy that narrative. So why buy the 2,000-year-old narrative? The reason I'm here is because I'm watching a meth head on my screen going nuts. I mean, if that was the case, I guess, like, if that was your thing, if you liked watching people struggling, you know, mental health and all that, if that was funny to you, I guess that would be one thing. But if that, it would have to be what I'm doing. And reading, I guess, reading and talking about how bad Israel is and the genocide and the control scheme and all the Jewish stuff, that I'm going nuts. That's a weird way of going nuts. Like, I've seen meth heads go nuts on videos. My video doesn't quite fit that. So that excuse doesn't work, right? It would, if it worked, it would work, but that's not a good reason. And even then, it says more about you, that you literally come back here every day to watch a meth head go nuts. That just that doesn't make sense. It's hilarious, right? You think child rape is hilarious. You think genocide is hilarious. That says a lot to me. That tells me who you are. What's up, my man? You good? Yes, sir. Right? This is how this works. And as you can see, this is the standard Jewish protocol. You're schizophrenic, you're off your meds, you're crazy. That's literally all they have. What else could they say? What else could what arguments could be made my way? Especially by a bunch of dumbass inbred fucking, basically hillbillies. How would that even work? But this is what I mean. You ask them why they're here and they'll come up with some dumb shit like this. But what makes more sense? That of all the methods you could find going nuts, the guy talking about killing pedos and all that, that's the one that's the funniest. Ho, 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 ho. Or we're back to talking about Act IL and Team Jorge kind of bullshit. The given talking points. The provided talking points, which are always mental health related. Who the fuck else is going to find the feed that's about killing pedos and all that and have an issue with it other than pedos? Who's going to support Trump other than pedos? Who's not going to oppose genocide other than the people committing the genocide? How many regular people want the friars to be in control of our lives and, think they're just they are God's chosen people, so I guess they should run the show. Who agrees with that? Nobody. So when you ask these fuckers why they're here, what's going on? I'm so entertaining. Of all of the options that exist on YouTube and every other platform that exists, your TV, your DVDs, your video games, you're outside, you could be going outside, you could be watching porn, you could be, jerking off, you could be being with your partner if you had a partner, ha 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 ha. You could be, skydiving, you could be riding a bike. I mean, I could just keep naming off things you could be doing. Instead, I'm the most entertaining thing you can find because I think we should kill pedos and eliminate the J control scheme. And you think that's supposed to make me sound bad? Like I'm supposed to be like, oh, ow, that hurts my feelings. That's amazing. And you'll come back. You'll be back tomorrow and the next day and the next day for hours on end. Because it's funny to laugh at the idea of killing pedos and overthrowing the chosen. Like that's just, who thinks that way? What normal person thinks that way? Again, Karen can't help but prove how dumb she is. Because she thinks, well, I'm dumb enough to be a pedo Trump supporter. You don't support Trump, so that must mean you support Biden? Because when given the choice, I'm going to smack you with the left hand or smack you with the right hand, these dumbasses pick a hand. They don't say, no, I'm good getting smacked, thanks. How about I hit you back? How about I hit you first? No, they say, well, which hand are you? And I'm right-handed, why? Because I'm smart. I'm going to pick your left hand because I don't think you can hit as hard with your left hand. Go right ahead. Like, this is what we're dealing with here. And all these people are mad because I'm talking about Streetlights. Oh man, the streetlight conversation is really a hard one to handle, isn't it? Hale's results garnered attention decades later as the unique chemical properties of various gases became understood through the work of Joseph Black, Henry Cavendish. Well, he's a fucking big-time player in that, right? I know Henry Cavendish has come up many times. Alessandro Volta and others. In 1733, publication by Sir James Lowther in the Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society, another one of these books that just exists, was published in this place and in this time by, stop it, by whatever publishing company happened to exist, I guess, and then distributed it. Detailed some properties of coal gas, including its flammability. Lowther demonstrated the principal properties of coal gas to different members of the Royal Society. He showed that the gas retained its flammability after storage for some time. The demonstration did not result in identification of utility. So again, like, how are they obtaining this coal gas? What are they containing it in? What system do they have? Like a propane and propane accessories and shit? You know, storing gas isn't like the easiest thing to do. And then to have it, you know, you have to have some sort of regulator, because if you don't, the fire will go up the gas line and explode the thing. So what system are they talking about using for this? You know, it just says, well, he figured out a way to distill it. Okay, well, how? The idea of the storage of this shit, of the transport of this shit, like all of it, it just doesn't make any sense. But this is what we're supposed to believe. Minister and experimentalist John Clayton referred to coal gas as the spirit of coal. He discovered its flammability by an accident. And remember, the Chinese had figured this out 2,000 years earlier. They were running pipes made of bamboo and lighting and heating houses and shit as early as 500 BC. And yet, Europeans just are in 1773 and shit. They still don't have no concept of this. You're telling me like there was some sort of divide that prevented the Europeans from knowing any of this shit 2,000 years later? And of course, the narrative is telling us that this person discovered this and this person discovered that. Well, what about Quan Chi Bao-chu, who clearly discovered bamboo fucking bullshit? Come on, let's go. Centuries earlier. Come on, dummy. This is going to be your last chance, dude. I'm not going to keep coming back in here. This dog is so weird. There we go. Gotta get our OCD shit going. If you don't think a dog can be OCD, why can we? Why wouldn't they have those same sort of, gotta flick the lights on 7-8 times before you go on in and out of a room? Like, try not to get mad at him for it, especially when you look at it from that perspective. Like, maybe he's got real bad OCD. As long as he bites dumb people, that's all that matters to me. The spirit he isolated from coal caught fire by coming in contact with a candle as it escaped from a fracture in one of his distilled vessels. again, so think about like the laboratories and shit that I guess had to exist back then. You know, you see all these giant structures that were built by by us apparently, even though we could never actually build something like that. And I always think about like, and a lot of these places have basements and all kinds of shit. So as soon as you're out of the direct contact with sunlight, it's gonna be dark as fuck. Like if I go upstairs and go in the closet and close the door, very little light comes from under the door and it's pitch black in there. And it's so dark that your eyes don't get used to it. It's just dark. So these huge buildings, the Palace of Versailles, and just, I mean, the list goes on forever. These gigantic buildings that holy shit, that have multiple floors, multiple, tremendous depth, and it's not just everywhere has windows. How are these fucking places lit? How are they heated in the winter? There's way more questions than ever get asked when it comes to these narratives.
It's changed now.
Right?
Are you staying inside?
No.
We were always told that if a can is dented, that the contents were dented. That it somehow breaks
And the idea of fire and all that shit, like, it's just like, there are just layers of questions that are always associated with things that people don't want to talk about. And for me, I'm really interested in the most basic of things, like the infrastructure, like the bricks, seriously, who made all the bricks that are constantly used throughout history? Who made them? Who transported them? How did they transport them?
Yeah.
Shipping lines and marble quarries and all this other shit. What was the process by which all this happened? And if you look into brick production, you find narratives that don't add up. The brick making factories that were producing over 1 million bricks a month or whatever it was. There's all these made of bricks. Well, where did those bricks come from? And the materials necessary to make bricks, it's, first of all, you have to have the endless supply of dirt, but you also have to have trees and all sorts of combustible materials, and the fires have to be regulated at a certain temperature and super hot. And you just start thinking about not just being blind by the splendor of the fucking buildings. How did they build this? How did they ship all this? How did they create the materials? We always talk about the biggest blocks and how did they move those big blocks, and that is a really interesting question. There's no doubt about it. That's something that has to be answered. But on a much smaller scale, how did they move the millions and millions of pounds of small bricks? How did they even create them? At least when it's granite and marble and shit, well, they quarried it. They cut it from the stone that I guess, the quarry. But when it comes to bricks, the bricks had to be made. And they made bricks that last forever. It's one thing when it is, granite and marble, these things that we know are super strong. But there are brick structures that date back thousands of years. How did they know how to make bricks that last thousands of years? And where did the materials come from for those bricks? You know, Venice is supposed to be a city that's built on a bunch of trees that were stripped down and then pounded into the seafloor, where they then put their structures on top of it, and over time, because of the salt water replacing the molecules, the you know, of the wood with salt, have all become hard as concrete. They've all become petrified, basically stone. How the fuck, what are you talking about? Where did they get all the trees? Where did they get the know-how to pound trees? How did they pound a bunch of trees into the seafloor back thousands of years ago? How come that technology was only used in one place? There's only Venice. At least from the ancient world, because then you have the Venice of California, where it's all canals and shit too, but that seems to be a more natural development. I don't fucking know. But this is the kind of shit that, like, these are the questions that don't ever get asked. And apparently all these friars who are here forced to watch me, I guess, they are mad that we are talking about this. Who's going to be upset about this? Who's such a dumb, pig-headed piece of shit that they can't go, yeah, you know what, that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be talking about these things. You should be doing this. Who's gonna say that shit? Why? Like, I get when I'm obviously talking about you friars and what crybaby weirdos you are. Pedophile, genocidal, crybaby weirdos. But right now, we're just talking about something simple. Something, history that none of us knew. But we should have. Right? Like, we should have known this shit. Questioning the infrastructure of the world we live in is something we should be questioning. You know? How did they build all these tunnels and catacombs and lay out all the bones and all that other shit? What the fuck is going on there? How did we build the New York subway system when from conception to opening took 10 years? We're just such proficient tunnel makers and like, what? And the New York subway system isn't like the only one. There's all sorts of tunnel systems under every single city we live in. How? You know, in a lot of major cities, the mail used to be delivered through a pneumatic delivery system. Like, how do you load mail into the pipes and it go to all the different places it needs to go to? That's just amazingly advanced. And it's a tech that's not talked about, that is seemingly we've gone backwards. I mean, why wouldn't we still be using pneumatic tube systems? Why would we be paying people to drive around? It's just stupid. But these are all questions, I guess we're not supposed to be asking, right? This makes people mad. And the thing is, it just doesn't make sense. The things that they tell you don't make sense. He stored the coal gas in bladders. I mean, just think about that. They just had all these bladders that they were, you know. And he just, these bladders, I guess if you take the bladder out of the body, it just stays elastic and shit. You can just use it as a pouch. It's like an inflatable balloon. And they just give you this shit. And you're supposed to be like, oh, stored it in bladders. Okay, yeah. Like that makes sense to you. All right, there's a dead body. Go cut out the bladder and then store some coal gas in it. Go ahead and do that real quick. How the fuck does anybody do that? Where, when, how did they come up with that shit? Who was the first one to be like, look, we can store coal gas in these bladders and then take it all around so we can do exhibitions with it? Again, with whatever regulator I guess they didn't have, or I don't know. If you're not smart enough to see that there's something else going on here, you're probably a Trump supporter. You're probably some inbred fucking friar piece of shit pedo. And at times, he entertained his friends by demonstrating the flammability of the gas. Clayton published his findings in Philosophical Transactions. Yep. Hey, I just happen to have these coal gas bladders hanging around. Hey guys, check out this demonstration, my friends. Let me show you a demonstration of the coal gas that I have in these bladders. That makes sense to you? Early technology. Passerby marvel at new gas lighting. London, 1809. So this is from 1809. It's a picture of it. Supposedly this is the new gas lighting system that they have in London in 1809. And the passerbys are marveling at it. As always, the passerbys are dressed, one, like it's cold, and two, to the nines. Always long sleeves, coats, jackets, you know, shirts, extra shirts. The women have their dresses on, their skirts, their slips, their fucking everything. No skin showing. Everyone has hats on, top hats and shit. Interesting how the only time people ever thought to take pictures or draw pictures is of a colder time, even though there's no snow on the ground or anything like that. They never thought that we should draw a picture of what it was like in June when it's balls fucking hot. And if people were dressed this way, they would die. You know, we overlook that fact. But if it's 90 degrees out, 90% humidity, and you have on wool pants, wool socks, big boots, you know, pantaloons and a shirt on with with a vest over it, and long sleeve button-up shirt with frillies on it, and your jacket and your overcoat and your gloves and, you know, big hat on and all that, you're gonna die. Heat stroke would have been just should have been the most common fucking killer of men back then. Women in their big fucking huge heavy ass dresses, the corsets, you know, all the different layers that go with the dress, the gloves, the fucking umbrella, the hat, the parasol, the hat. You know, I've learned from watching my big fat gypsy wedding on TV, which is my new fucking favorite goofy ass show. Like, I can't believe these people exist. But those big dresses that they wear, you know, one of them, she said, was 17 stone. It's like a 200-pound dress. These are all these clothes had to weigh so fucking much. Hmm? Oh yeah, forgot, dude. Hell yeah, thanks for the update. My family is going to hate you. Pardon? Sweet. Yeah, they're going to hate you. I'm going to tell them it's all your fault. Satirical cartoon showing dangers of early gaslighting in 1813. This must be a bladder exploding. You know, because bladders. So what did they use to contain the gas in large quantities for like street lighting and all that? Where did that gas come from? Did they just have a whole bunch of bladders hooked up? Bladders. Yeah, so look at the cartoon is showing something blowing up, but I guess it's just a bunch of smoke around it so you can't see it. But of course, the people are dressed in boots and they all look like they're Shakespearean actors. The overcoat, the vest, the pantaloons, the long socks, all of it. The powdered wigs. You're wearing a powdered wig and a hat. They say that when you're like working out outside, like during two-a-days in football, the coach would always get mad at us for wearing bandanas, you know, because we wanted to be cool and wear bandanas. And he'd be like, look, your head is where all of your heat comes out. And that's literally why you wear hats in the wintertime, is because it's the main source of the heat escaping your body escapes through your head. So these guys have on powdered wigs, goofy hats, top hats. Can you imagine the inside of the top hat, how musty and stinky and warm it must have been? I mean, these are all questions that never get answered. We're talking about people who apparently didn't have showers and hygiene and shit. So the you know, the question of, it's not like when these clothes are depicted, they're dirty. They're always super clean, dressed to the nines. It's cold outside. I had to ask my neighbors if their kid was the result of vaccines. He's severely autistic, or what we call autistic. Sad. I mean, I'm sure these people would probably think it's funny, but workmen laying gas pipes under London streets. George Scharf, British Museum, but we don't know the date of this one. Oh. He lived from 1788 to 1860. So this is supposed to be British workers laying pipes under the streets for gas lines back in the 1800s. And it's interesting too, because if you look at the bottom of the page, there's all sorts of other piping and shit. When did they do this? Who did this? Who manufactured all those pipes? What was the pipe manufacturing company all about back then? What materials were they using? How were they shipping them all over where they needed to? I bet if you were to look it up, it would be, you know, the company that did it would be like the British pipe making company, you know, the British gas line making company or some shit like that. Because that's what it always is. The companies that build it always happen to have the name of the thing that they were building as their fucking company name. Strange. It took nearly 200 years for gas to become accessible for commercial use. So in the 1700s, dude was walking around with coal gas in bladders showing it off to his friends. But it took 200 years for the advancements to take place to make it to where it could be used. Gotcha. Yeah. Man, it's just too bad there's no way for us to use these bladders for something else. While at the same time, the Chinese were doing it 2,500 years earlier using bamboo pipes and shit. Like, there's a disconnect here that just doesn't make any sense. There was trade. There was exchange of ideas and information, at least according to the narrative we're given. I don't believe any of this shit. I'm just reading what we're supposed to know, what Israel wants us to know. But you know, for all of you that believe the narrative you're given, this should be raising questions. We're not talking about in the Americas. We're talking about in Europe, which was, you know, far from China, but still there was open trade and exchange of ideas and all that shit. They knew, we knew all these different things. Something like street lamps, in-home heating and all that, that would have been a necessity. And again, if you look at the picture, there's obviously other pipes that were, you know, other pipes laid underneath. And when you look at all those old school structures, you have to ask not just how they built them, but, you know, these all exist in places where winter is atrocious. How did they heat all these facilities? How did they light them? Come to find out that, you know, if they would have just talked to the Chinese about it 2,000 years ago, they would have had, like, what? It's just stupid. A Flemish chemist, or alchemist, because again, alchemy is not a thing anymore. Alchemy was the science of the day. And alchemy has all these amazing claims that they used to be able to do all kinds of crazy shit. Turn metals into other metals and, you know. But it always, you know, my question is always like, the laboratories where these guys supposedly did these experiments, what did they look like? How did they get their supplies? Where did you get your supply of cobalt from and your, you know, whatever, helium and all that? How did you guys get those things to be able to experiment with them in the first place? What was the network like that provided you with enough of these? Because again, history sort of tells us that people basically figured things out on the first try, but that's just not how invention and science works. You don't just get the recipe for crack right on the first try. The recipe for meth? Who came up with that shit? That wasn't some hillbillies. That's high-level chemistry to be like, all right, let's make this super powerful drug that anyone can make it in their house with the right amount of different chemicals that you can buy from the store, the right concoction. All you need is some Sudafed. Like, who the fuck? There were no hillbillies sitting around figuring that shit out. It just wasn't a thing. And it just so happens to you know, have the same chemical makeup and structure as the meth that was supposedly used by the Nazis. Them damn Nazis. Nazis crazy. And a killer Nazi. And a killer Nazis crazy. And yet we don't ask these questions. There wasn't some fucking, hood rats sitting around with this endless supply of cocaine that they could be like, all right, let's try pepper. Will pepper work? No. Let's try baking powder. Does baking powder work? No. What about baking soda? Let's try baking soda. They weren't just sitting around going through the kitchen like, what can we use here? What can we combine with this cocaine to make a much more affordable, much more addictive substance that actually turns this cocaine into this cocaine? Like, what can we do here? Oh, here, let's just mix these out. Okay, now stir it. Now drop it in. Oh, look, now we have crack rocks. Oh, look at that. Here, let me tell everyone across the country at the same time the recipe. Let me tell all my hood, all the different people that I have in all these different hoods this exact same thing so they can all distribute it at the exact same time. And then the news all over the country can be the best advertising campaign they could have is, hey, that cocaine that we told you was this glamour drug and that was basically okay. Only the rich and powerful used it, but it was out of the reach of the average person, but it was this glamour drug, cocaine. Well, guess what? There's a much cheaper version. It's everywhere you look. It's actually more powerful. It'll take away your thoughts for a little while, all your horrible life sucks thoughts. You'll take it away for a minute. It's on every street corner, but stay the fuck away from it. Don't you do it now. Super cheap. Don't do it. Want to escape your life? Don't do it. Don't use this crack stuff. Just hits the streets. Same time, everywhere. All at once. Hillbillies in California? I don't even know. I don't know the story of how fish tank meth became a thing. How did Jeremy's dumbass know about fish tank meth? How did that recipe get to Jeremy's dumb ass? Jeremy is dumb. How did he know the recipe for fish tank meth? I mean, think about that shit, right? And it's the same thing now as it was back then. We just we have these narratives that don't explain anything. They lead to more questions, if you ask me. French alchemist Jean-Baptiste von Helmont was the first person to formally recognize gas as a state of matter. He would go on to identify several types of gases, including carbon dioxide. Over 100 years later in 1733, so this is... It's weird because the last date this thing gives us is 1733 publication by Sir James Lowther. And then this starts and says it took nearly 200 years for gas to become accessible for commercial use. 200 years from when? That sort of makes it sound like it was the 1900s. Over 200 years from when? And he identified carbon dioxide. When? It doesn't tell us exactly when. It just says that he did. Lowther had some of his miners working in a water pit for his mine. Working on a water pit for his mine. Some of his miners working on a water pit. Sir James Lowther had some of his miners working on a water pit for his mine. What does that mean? Lowther took a sample of the gas and took it home to do some experiments. In what? Where did he get this sample? Did he happen to have a bladder on him that he could fill up you know, from the source. All right, I got my bladder full of what did he take? A sample of the gas. Oh, sorry, my bad. The water pit for the mine. While digging, they hit a pocket of gas. While digging the pit, they hit a pocket of gas. So again, this pocket of gas that is just in the earth, what, underneath the surface? I mean, what mining project are we talking about that Sir James Lowther had going on? His own personal mining project? Where? And he just hit a pocket of gas. What gas? I'm not sure, but a pocket of gas that he then took a sample of and took it home to do some experiments. This is the fucking official narrative. If you don't question this shit, you have issues. That they can just present you with this kind of, you know, yada yada bullshit, and you go, yeah, okay, no. They hit a pocket of gas, and he took a sample home to do some experiments on. Why not? What's wrong with you? He noted the said air being put into a bladder, so he did have a bladder on him. What? Who carried around bladders, and how did that even work again? How did the bladder not dry up and get nasty after being outside of the body for any lengthy period of time? What the fuck are we talking about? Bladder balloons and shit. Please, somebody tell me how this makes sense. The said air being put into a bladder and tied closed may be carried away and kept some days, and being afterwards pressed gently through a small pipe into the flame of a candle, will take fire and burn at the end of the pipe as long as the bladder is gently pressed to feed the flame. The flame would go up the fucking bladder. That's not how shit works. That's why you have to have a regulator in any sort of system like that. That's why your stove has a regulator. To prevent the flame from going back up the tube and into the fucking gas lines. Do you not get this is fucking crazy? And when taken from the candle after it is so lighted, it will continue burning till there is no more air left in the bladder to supply the flame. Like, to me, it's really weird that anybody would read this and not have the questions I have. That you would, you know, you're required to do the report, so you're supposed to just read what this says and just write it down. This is what this says. It says this. It says this. You know, and he did this, and he put it in the bladder. Like, the idea of bladders is just ludicrous. They're using bladders in the 1730s. I mean, it just... Why would you believe such shit? Ouch. Listen to this.
Yeah, I'll send you a link of what people have done.
Listen. So,
Hold on.
in 1733, James Lowther had some miners working on a water pit for his mine. You know, he had a mine going. While digging, they hit a pocket of gas. Lowther took a sample of the gas and took it home to do some experiments. He noted The said air being put into a bladder and tied closed may be carried away and kept some days, and being afterwards pressed gently through a small pipe on into the flame of a candle, will take fire and burn at the end of the pipe as long as the bladder is gently pressed to feed the flame. And when taken from the candle after it is so lighted, it will continue to burn till there is no more air left in the bladder to supply the flame.
Okay. What about it?
How does that make sense?
I mean, I was picturing the experiment as you were saying it.
Right.
Makes
So
sense.
were you picturing the regulator that prevents the flame from going up the bladder?
As long as there is a steady stream, it's not going to go up the
It
bladder.
will.
No, it won't.
Yes, it will. That's why,
No,
like,
the vacuum.
it doesn't work that way. The flame, that's why there's regulators. You have to have regulators to prevent the flame from going up the gas because it happens faster than the slight pressure that you would push. And if you even did a slight, like, you weren't consistently pressing it, you went back just a tiny bit, it would explode. But what bladders are they using? How do you take a bladder out of a body and
Not
it may...
that bladder. They call the. Yeah, no, they don't. A whoopee cushion technically is a bladder.
Well, then that's even more... Where did those come from?
I don't know. I don't know what they made them out of.
Exactly.
I have no idea.
How would you fill that up? So you fill your bladder because you hit a pocket of gas and the gas is, and you put your bladder over it and it fills it up.
Experiments, though?
Come on. I mean, you're supposed to think the way that you're thinking and not ask because this is talking about how gas lighting systems. I'm looking into the gas lighting system, and apparently the Chinese were capable of using gas lines that were bamboo and ran for miles to light and heat homes as late as 500 BC.
Yeah, I don't know how you make the connections of the two bamboo sticks airtight.
For sure.
They use
That's just
mud, clay.
even
I don't
where
know.
do you get the gas from? How do you pump it through? How do you regulate it? But it doesn't. The technology, the information doesn't reach Europe until the 1700s.
Well, Indians were smarter than Europeans. I don't know.
These aren't Indians.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
It's fascinating that this is our history and this is the stuff that makes you not the conspiracy theorist. You're not crazy if you believe these things. Like it's just fucking wild. It's crazy how this is presented to you and you're just supposed to eat it up. Luther had basically discovered the principle behind gas lighting. Later in the 18th century, William Murdoch, sometimes spelled, it's Murdoch, but sometimes spelled with a CK, multiple identities that these people always had, stated, quote, "The gas obtained by distillation from coal, peat, wood, and other inflammable substances burnt with great brilliance upon being set fire to. By conducting it through tubes, it might be employed as an economical substitute for lamps and candles." I mean, again, this guy is discovering technology that's already existed for a long time. Like, it's silly. It doesn't make any sense. It's interesting too how the bladder thing isn't blue, so I can't look into the history of that. Why aren't any of the bladders blue? But he's just saying it like, if you just capture the gas and run it through some tubes, then it can be used in this way. Like, what are we talking about? Where does this work? Nobody cares, says the person who's been watching me for 3 hours. Says one of the people who's been watching me and begging for attention for 3 hours. I love when they say stupid shit like that. Murdoch's first invention was a lantern with a gas-filled bladder attached to a jet. What? He would use this to walk home at night. After seeing how well this worked, he decided to light his home with gas. In 1797, Murdoch installed gas lighting in his new home as well as the workshop in which he worked. Where does he get the gas from? This work was of a large scale, and he had next experimented to find better ways of producing, purifying, and burning the gas. You would have thought that would have been before doing it. But it's like, you see how they how they sort of address it either before or just as you're asking the question. They sort of address it. Well, he discovered new ways to purify the gas. I'm like, but where did he get it to begin with? How is he creating and storing so much gas that he could be used to light his home? Where was the gas factory? The supply depot? What regulator was used? I mean, where was the jet from? What jet did he have? Using a jet. Are we fucking serious? We're just gonna, oh yeah, a jet. He had a jet. 17, blah, blah, blah. In the later in the 18th century, so in the 17 somethings. Oh, 1797 is when he saw how well his jet lantern worked that he walked home with. When he would leave his giant, marble fucking palace to go home to his thatch roof little house that didn't have any lights in it. I don't think my lunch break has caught on to this part yet. This is so stupid. The foundation had been laid for companies to start producing gas and other inventors to start playing with ways of using the new technology. That's it. That's the yada yada explanation that you're given. Well, the foundation was laid, and then they just did it. Murdoch was the first to exploit the flammability of gas for practical application of lighting. He worked with Matthew Boulton and James Watt at the Soho Foundry Steam Engine Works in Birmingham. Soho Foundry Steam Engine Works. Oh, this is the Soho Foundry main gate. Still exists, I guess. Listing now. Roving bridge at entrance to Soho Foundry Canal. Oh yeah, because, fucking canals and shit. Super, super capable back then. The early history of the Soho Foundry is of pivotal importance both to the history of the Industrial Revolution and the study and development of management theory. The Soho Foundry stood out from other factories of the day in the sophistication of its planning, its production processes, and the management techniques, practicing concepts that would not become commonplace until a century later. The factory was built on the edge of the Birmingham Canal on land bought in 1795. The following year, the foundry was open. They bought the land in 1775 and the following year. Not, when in 1775? Early 1775? Late 1775? The Birmingham Canal. There's no history of it. The name Main Line was used to distinguish the main Birmingham to Wolverhampton route from the many other canals and branches built or acquired by the Birmingham Canal Navigations Company. Right? Wasn't a company beforehand. It wasn't an established company that had worked on other things. This company was formed to do this one specific thing. They didn't think to use an existing canal company. They just did this. On January 24th, 1767, Birmingham Canal offices fronting Paradise Street. They backed onto Old Wharf Terminus. Yeah, you know. Because we built that. That was, you needed that building to be your canal system headquarters. You needed this fantastic palace looking place that spanned 2 roads and all this other shit, right? That's how we built things back in the day, because it was just easy. January 24, 1767, a number of prominent Birmingham businessmen, including Matthew Bolton, and others from the Lunar Society. See, I mean, you just keep, it's like, what? Held a public meeting in the White Swan, High Street, Birmingham, to consider the possibility of building a canal from Birmingham to Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal near Wolverhampton. So these were earlier canals, taking in the coal fields of the Black Country. They commissioned the canal engineer James Brindley to propose a route. Brindley came back with a largely level but meandering route via Smethwick, Oldbury, Tipton, Bilston, and Wolverhampton. On February 24th, 1768, a year and a month later, an act of Parliament was passed to allow the building of the canal. The Staffordshire Worcestershire Company was given the right to make the connection to their canal if the Birmingham Company failed to do so within 6 months of opening. They were supposed to build this in 6 months? On March 2nd, Brindley was appointed engineer. The first phase of building was to Wednesbury. Upon the price of coal sold to domestic households in Birmingham halved overnight. Vested interest in the sponsors caused the creation of 2 terminal wharfs in Birmingham. The 1772 Newhall branch and the wharf now built upon originally extended north of and parallel to Great Charles Street. The 1773 Paradise Street branch split off at Old Turn Junction and headed through the Broad Street Tunnel, turned left at what is now Gas Street Basin and under the Bridge Street to wharves on a tuning fork-shaped pair of long basins. By November 6th, 1769, on February 24th, 1768, the Parliament was granted it. By November 6th, 1769, so what do we say? February 24th, 68 to, so like a year and 8 months later, 10 miles had been completed to Hilltop Collieries in West Bromwich, with 1 mile summit pound at Smethwick. Brindley had tried to dig a tunnel through the hill at Smithwick, but it encountered ground too soft to cope with. Just digging tunnels through fucking hills and shit. The canal rose from what is now Birmingham level through 6 narrow 7-foot 2-inch locks to the summit level and descended through another 6 at Spawn Lane. Hang on a second.
What's up, Steve? What's up, Steve?
Yep. That's funny. No. Well, that's not nice. Huh? That's Uncle Bo's girlfriend? Yeah, you like her? Yeah, she's nice. Bye, baby.
Okay. Look, this is just too much. This is what I'm saying, like to look into any one thing because there's just so many questions. And you get to one thing and then it sends you in another direction and it sends you in another direction. I mean, we're talking about 10 miles. It took 18 months to dig 10 miles through 6 locks. They built locks that would raise the boats up and descend through another 6, so 12 locks. Water was brought from purpose-built reservoirs. I mean, it's like, oh, okay, it's just water was brought in from there. Okay, cool. Smethwick Great Reservoir, now built upon, holding 1,514 locks of water. Another smaller pool in Southwick holding 500 locks. And then from Titford Pool to supply the summit level. They just moved water from one place to the other. Because that's just, I mean, this is the fucking 1700s, dude. We were fucking badass back then. In 1770, work started towards Wolverhampton from above the 3rd Spawn Lane lock at what is now the Wolverhampton level. On September 21st, 1772, Jesus Christ, we're talking about like a couple of years later. The canal was joined with Staffordshire and Worcestershire Channel at Aldersley Junction via another 20 locks, increased to 21 in 1784 to save water. I mean, think about what we're talking about here. Can you guys show me any projects like this going on right now? Where they're just building canal systems wherever they need to? With at this point we're at like 34 locks. Bringing in water from wherever to fill, like, show me somebody doing anything even close to this right now. And this was just so commonplace back then that it's like, yeah, well, what about this? And what about, like, you know, what the fuck are we talking about? Why is this not more fascinating and irritating at the same time to you? This is the narrative we're given. This is what you have to believe. For me to be crazy, this all has to make sense to you. And if this makes sense to you, then smash the dislike. Make sure you express your hate. Smash it. Smash it. If this is fucking crazy to you and this just don't make no sense, hit the like button, hit the sub button, and don't forget to share this. Take 2 seconds and share it on Facebook or wherever. If you need to tell people, this guy's crazy, do that. Do whatever you do to make yourself feel better. But understand, this shouldn't make any sense. Brinley died a few days later. Of course he did. The canal measured 22 and 5/8 miles, mostly following the contour of the land, but with deviations to factories and mines in the Black Country and Birmingham. A branch led to Matthew Bolton's Soho Manufactory. Soho Manufactory. Okay. I mean, come on. Remember, these are the people who would walk home with their lanterns to get to their thatch roof little house with their straw bed with the rats and the mice and the bugs and the... I mean, think about this. Think about the shit you're told. Think about, does this make sense to you? These are the same people claiming right now Israel is the good guy. Israel is the victim. We couldn't have built that in the 1700s. I agree. You know, some of the architecture we have now, we don't have it. It's literally all over the world. We are doing irrigation projects. Nothing like this. You could say that, but there's nothing like this going on right now. Canal systems being put in places where there are no canal systems for easier travel. Because, you know, this is simpler than building roads for vehicles because you don't have vehicles. But you have the ability to literally dig out channels, 22 miles of channel. In what, roughly 15 years or some shit? And then again, transport the water from one place to the other. The original Birmingham Canal was extremely successful, but there was a problem with supplying sufficient water to the Smethwick Summit. Matthew Bolton's partner, James Watt, had just patented, oh, look at that, these businessmen that also happen to be these fucking amazing engineers. They were businessmen. And in their free time, they built canals. And they just, whenever they come to a hole in the story, it's like, well, what about this? Oh, he just invented something else new. They just invented it. When they didn't have it, they just invented it. New patent, boom, right there. At the patent office that existed. Because back then it was really important to have patents for everything. Makes sense? An improvement to this. Oh, he had, not only was he a canal builder, he also patented an improvement to the steam engine involving an external condenser which improved the efficiency and therefore reduced the amount of coal needed to run it. Oh man. Good thing he fucking invented that. Man. Can you imagine if they just hadn't, you know, he hadn't have been able to build that shit? In his spare time? Because in his spare time he was a canal builder. And in his spare time he was improving steam engines. And it was like, you know, it's commonplace. Like it was all accounted for. History is, you know, because he had the patents. He went to the patent office and was like, hey, patent office of 17 something or other. I want this to be in my name. Just in case in 2025 somebody might be skeptical of the narrative. So we need to have this proof that I patented this. Imagine like what they thought the world was going to look like if they were capable of doing such incredible things back then. They had to know that improvement was going to continue to take place. And to think that instead of improving, we've gone way downhill. I'm losing my steam here. Steam engines were constructed at either end of the Smethwick Summit to pump water used in the operation of the locks back to the summit. The Smethwick engine, June 5th, 1779, pumped water from the Birmingham side of the summit, and another, the Spot Lane engine, April 1778, operated from the Wolverhampton side. Because again, if we just tell you that it was a steam engine that pumped the water, you're going to go, oh, okay, guess that makes sense. Those 1700 steam engines. In 1784, after 2 years of counterproductive attempts at legislation, the Birmingham and Fraseley Canal Company created to propose a competitive canal from the coal fields to Birmingham, and also a link to the Coventry Canal at Fraser. Because again, making canals was just so easy. Canals and locks and all that shit. I'm the asshole for making it sound like that's difficult. Merged with the they merged with the Birmingham Canal Company 10 years later. The name of the merged company was changed to, of course, the Birmingham Fraseley Canal Company. Oh no, Birmingham Canal Navigation Company, sorry. And the Birmingham and Fraseley Canal was started. This created an even greater need for water to supply the 13 locks at Farmers Bridge and 11 at Elston, all running downhill and taking water out of the Birmingham system. This is fucking stupid, man. I mean, especially, look at these. These are the pictures of it today. So this is what they were building. This giant canal had to have all the bridges to go across it too. Here's some smaller parts. Oh, there we go. Some of this, more bridges. All this was dug by what? All the concrete and blocks that were used. Where did all these supplies come from? Oh, look, this is just another one of these magical bridges that were just built. This bridge is probably old as fuck. Let's see, I want to figure out what this bridge is. The Engine Arm Aqueduct. The Engine Arm Aqueduct is a channel aqueduct at Smethwick near Birmingham in the West Midlands. It was built in 1829 by Thomas Telford to carry a water feeder arm over the new main line of the Birmingham Canal Navigations. 1829. At some point, you have to think this is fucking weird. The aqueduct was completed in 1829 It is similar to several of Telford's other cast iron bridges, including the nearby Galston Bridge and Cantlop Bridge at Shropshire. The Shropshire Slasher. What is your occupation? Shropshire Slasher. It is a scheduled monument and a Grade 2 listed building, first listed on February 8th, 2007. This is the history of it. I'm trying to find the history of this, and this is the bullshit they tell me. Both statutes, which provide legal protection from demolition or unsympathetic modification. So, it was built so well that there's shit protecting it from being even fucked with. Historic England called it an example of Telford's work at its best, demonstrating technical innovation in the use of cast iron to allow greater spans than were possible with traditional masonry arches. Who was supplying all of this cast iron? What were the cast iron factories like back then? Who ran them? Did they have a time clock? Did they have a punch clock and shit? People would come in and punch the clock so they could... Who built that factory? You know, they're using cast iron. They're making bridges out of cast iron, meaning large cast iron sections were needed and fastened together and all this other shit in a way that here we are hundreds of years later and it's still going. Are we serious here? Do you guys does this all make sense to you? Haven't you heard of rebuilding something? Yep, that's not what it says, does it, dumbass? Ha 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 ha. I love how because you know it's so stupid that you can't just believe it for what it says. You have to make up your own shit to make it make sense. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. And because you're too stupid to realize what you say is stupid, obviously, if you're a police person, you know, obviously you're stupid as shit. You don't realize what you're saying. It's just more arrogance. Oh, you just happen to be a bridge expert, huh? You happen to be an aqueduct from 1800s British, Britain, London area, Europe. You know how all of that. You're a Thomas Wolford or Mulford, what is his name? Telford. You're a Telford fucking expert, I guess. And of course, that's it. The design. The bridge is a single span of 52 feet in cast iron. 52 feet cast iron. The arch is formed from 5 ribs. Each cast is 4 sections and bolted together. The ribs are connected to each other by transverse members, and they are fixed to masonry abutments. The 3 central ribs support the 8-foot wide cast iron trough, which boats travel. And the outer ones support the tow paths and the bracing that connects the sides of the trough. The towpath support consists of an arcade of Gothic arches and quatrefoil spandrels. The east towpath is paved in brick with raised strips for horses. The ironwork was cast at the Horsley Ironworks at Tipton, as were most of Telford's iron bridges. All right, let's go there now. The Horsley Ironworks, sometimes spelled Horsley. So Horsley or Horsley, you know, because you sometimes spell it different again, was a major ironworks in the Tipton, Tipton area of the country of Staffordshire, now the West Midlands, England. Founded by Aaron Manby, it is most famous for constructing the iron steamer, the Aaron Manby, in 1821. The boat was assembled at Rotherhithe. She was only the first of a number of steamboats built on the knockdown principle. Everybody knows what the knockdown was. The ironworks have also been responsible for the manufacture of numerous canals and railway bridges of the 19th century. Because not only were they building one spectacular thing, you know, marvel of engineering and construction and all that, they were building multiple things at the same time. Now, where did all these people learn all these trades and how did they all get? Don't worry about it. The ironworks were built near the Toll End Communications Canal on the Horsley estate, which had been sold by their owner at the turn of the 19th century. Due to demand from engineers wishing to profit on the construction of the BCN main line through the estate. I mean, they just were going through his property, I guess. The date when the ironworks were constructed is unknown. So this is where we can't get further back. This is where it's sort of like, oh, okay. This is where we're supposed to stop reading. But is believed to have been by 1815. What? Well, let's see. Aaron Manby. Aaron Manby, November 15th, 1776, of course. December 1st, 1850, was an English civil engineer and the founder of the Horsley Ironworks, notable for the many fine iron canal bridges that it built. The eponymous Aaron Mansby steamboat was the first iron-hulled steamer to go to sea, and it was driven by Mansby's patent oscillating engine, an effective and durable marine steam engine. Of course it was. Is this supposedly an actual picture of the boat? Yeah, that's it, I guess. Oh, man. Oh, Jesus. Family life. We know about this guy's detailed family life, but we don't know exactly when he made his foundry. Was born at Elbrighton, Shropshire, on November 15th, 1776, to Aaron Manby of Kingston, Jamaica, and Jane Lane of Bentley. Right. Because there was a dude from Jamaica in Shropshire in 1776. Why the fuck not? This dude is a halfie, apparently. Halfie fucking power. Mansby's first wife, so we're not going to get anywhere he got educated and shit. Manby's first wife was Julia Fuster. They had a son, Charles Manby, who became secretary of the Institution of Civil Engineers. Of course he did. Julia died in 1807. We don't know any of the previous details about their marriage, but we know she died. In 1807, the same year, Manby married Sarah Ann Haskins. Because, I mean, yeah. Married abroad the same year that fucking his wife died. That, okay. With whom he had one daughter, Sarah Marie. Because, you know, you name your daughter Sarah Jr. She died in 1826. And 4 more sons. The oldest three of them, John Richard, 1813-1869, Joseph Lane, 1814-1862, and Edward Oliver, 1816-1864, also became civil engineers. Sarah Ann died in 1826. All right, so this is one of these things where I just have to give the credit to my lunch break for this. Look at the narrative we're given. He marries, okay, so the first woman dies, with whom he has a son, Charles Manby, who becomes the the secretary of the Institution of Civil Engineers. She dies in 1807. He marries another woman named Sarah Ann Haskins. They have a daughter named Sarah. She dies in 1826. And then they have 4 more sons, each of whom lived to be about 50 years old. Little over 50, I guess. 55, 56, shit like that. Basically all, well, let's see. 69 minus 13 is 56. 62 minus 14 is 48. And 64 minus 16 is, what is that? 46 or 48. 48, right? Yeah, 48. So 2 of them died at 48. 1 died at 56. And then the mom, the mom died the same year the daughter died, I guess. What? He had one daughter, Sarah Marie, who died in 26. And he had 4 more sons. So I guess the 4 more sons. What a weird way to put it, though, right? Manby's working life was originally in banks on the Isle of Wight. In 1812, Manby was managing partner of the Horsley Coal and Iron. God damn it. Thumper! Go get your bow. He'll listen to him. Thumper, come on. Did you get him?
Thumper. Inside no. Thumper.
There he goes.
Get in here.
No problemo. Okay. 1812, managing partner of the Horsley Coal and Iron Company, Tipton, Staffordshire. It ran coal lines, blast furnaces to make iron, and assorted workshops. Manby expanded the business into civil engineering. In 1813, it's a year later, obtained a patent for a means of casting the slag from blast furnaces into blocks for building. In 1815, the firm supplied a cast iron swing bridge, possibly the first of Horsley's many iron bridges. In 1821, diversifying into mechanical engineering, Manby obtained British patent, blah, 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 for his oscillating engine designed for use in ships. That same year, Horsley Iron Works constructed the world's first seagoing iron steamboat named the Aaron Manby, using his oscillating engine. So they could make the first of its kind boat in a year. The boat was built at Tipton using temporary bolts, disassembled for transportation to London, and reassembled on the Thames in 1822, this time using permanent rivets. Are you fucking kidding me? The Thames, the River Thames, is the source of so many of these fictional narratives that they give us. Between 1819 and 1822, Manby started his engineering works at Charlton-le-Pont near Paris. So now again, we have somebody that's traveling these distances like it's no biggie, with the Scottish chemist Daniel Wilson as manager. The controversial move enabled France to stop buying engines made in England, which made Manby somewhat unpopular. That's fucking silly. In 1822, Manby and Wilson's Campagne de la gas hydrogen gas lighting company. 1822, his hydrogen gas lighting company was granted the right to provide gas lighting for several streets in Paris. This just makes sense, huh? According to Michael Clott, the company Manby and Wilson is certainly the largest company of British origin to set up in France under the Restoration. Their campaign Anglaise ran until 1847, expanding to take in the Le Chevret Ironworks. Mansby's Horsley Ironworks profited from the growing canal trade, manufacturing canal bridges in the English Midlands, including the Engine Arm Aqueduct in 1825 and 2 roving bridges at Smithwick Junction in 1828. They were just not only designing them, but then knocking them out. In 1845, Manby sold Horsley Ironworks to John Joseph Brum. 1798 to 1846. Another guy who lived to be fucking 50 years old, 52. Another 52. That's interesting. Remember, because the other kid so the 2 died at 48, and then his other kid died at 52, and now the guy that he sold the company to died at 52. Nephew of inventor and locksmith John Brum. Of course he is. Nephew to a famous guy. After returning to France in about 1840. Yeah, we know all the earlier stuff. We don't know this one. He lived in Fulham, London, before retiring to the Isle of Wight, where he died. And that's it. That's it. So the history, we tried to get the history of this one. Where were we? Okay, the engine armor, 2 roving bridges. He built Galton. They built Galton Bridge in 18. So they built the 2 roving bridges at Smethwick Junction, 1828. What are the roving bridges? Oh, just these. Just shit like that. Okay, I got you. That makes sense. Easy to do. No problem. 2 of those in 1828. Galton Bridge in 1829. Galton Bridge it's the one in the foreground. Because, of course, shit was easy back then. This shit's only 150 feet by 26 feet wide at 70 feet high. That's it. Oh shit, what did I just do? I hit back too many times. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, good. Yeah, I did. I wanted to find This new main line, is that what I did? Yep, came here. Fuck. What did I hit here? Damn it. Whatever. Oh yeah, Horsley Iron Works. Okay, that's where I was. When we were doing, that's where we go. Okay, so 1829, they did the Galton Bridge, which was that big tall one. And then they did the Brunston Towpath Bridges in 1830. It doesn't really give you, it's a whole bunch of shit. Brunston, it just takes you to Brunston. It doesn't give you the bridges. That's really weird. Okay. By the end of the canal construction era, Horsley Iron Works had emerged as one of the most prolific manufacturers of canal bridges in West Midlands region, especially in Birmingham, which they also happen to know how to make the exact same bridges as everyone else did. Because there'll be this same company in all different other places where they have the same one guy built all these bridges all the same way. No idea where he got his education from or anything like that. We tried to find it. This was the result of their signature bridge design, which had become popular among canal constructors. The design had been replicated more recently, for example, in Birmingham during the regeneration of Gas Street Basin, where Worcester Bar is linked to Gas Street. Interesting. Horsley Iron Works were also responsible for manufacturing in the railway industry. Of course they were. Railway bridges constructed included that of the viaduct from the London and Birmingham to Holyhead Railway at Shifnal, Shropshire, which was cast in 1848, as well as manufacturing bridges. They also produced locomotives. I mean, wow.
They did hair too.
This is insane. These guys, the company also manufactured construction steel work for the Pyre of Ryde, whatever that is. Is Ryde a place? Oh, that's just gonna be a place, Ryde. So I don't know what the pier, my bad. They built a pier. The Palace Theatre in London, Rugby Railway Station, a seaplane hangar in Los Palmas, and the Dome of Discovery at the 1951 Festival of Britain. The Dome of Discovery was a temporary exhibition designed by architect Ralph Tubbs, Festival of Britain. The theme of the dome was British innovation in exploration and discovery is as strong as it ever was. The exhibition was divided into the following sections: land, earth. Wow. The dome had a diameter of 365 feet and stood 93 feet tall, making it, at the time, the largest dome in the world. It had a long escalator as dramatic entrance, with the dome itself made out of aluminum. Construction was contracted to Horsley Iron Works of Tipton, with fabrication partly subcontracted to Structural and Mechanical Development Engineers Ltd. It was erected by Horsley, of course it was, on the site, designed and prepared for costing group to create aluminum from concrete and aluminum, because they made aluminum back then, and the modernist style, and housed many festival attractions. Internally, the dome included a number of galleries on various levels, housing exhibitions on the theme of discovery. When was it built? Guess we're not going to find any sort of construction narrative. It was just there. Okay, so the firm moved in 1865 to a site on the now defunct Dixon branch off the BECN New Main Line near the Staffordshire Railway. The factory survived until a succession of owners in 1991 when it was closed down and subsequently redeveloped. Huh?
What?
Yeah.
I don't have anything on. Go there.
Weirdo. Locations. Okay, so. Oh no, that's the Horsley Ironworks. Gallery. They built the Elston Junction, the Winson Green Junction, 2 roving bridges at Smithwick Junction. Name on roving bridge at Smithwick Junction. The engine arm at Aqueduct, the Galston Bridge, 2 bridges at Bromford Junction, Richmond Railway Bridge, Vignolles Bridge in Coventry. So that was, again, that's where the steel just came from, and they made everything. They were just amazing like that. Isn't that crazy? The aqueduct was completed in 1829. When was it built? We're back to the engine arm aqueduct. It was built in 1829. We don't get a starting date of any kind, but the aqueduct was completed in 1829. It is similar to several of Telford's other cast iron bridges, including the nearby Gelton Bridge and the Cantlop Bridge in Shropshire. It is scheduled, yeah, we read this already. And that was that. That's all you get. That's this amazing bridge that was just built. See, this is how difficult this is, because you end up going down all these fucking crazy pathways because what they tell you just doesn't make sense. The Soho Foundry, it's how we got, because the Soho Foundry still exists. This is just weird, man. I mean, it's just weird. Anyway, I'm done. Have yourself a great day. Go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. It's free. Go watch Hollywoodism, most important film ever made. It tells you all the same shit, just from their perspective. Essentially, you could say the American dream is the Jewish dream. Go read the Israel Hayom article, Bottom of Darkness, which will be attached as well. All about the ritual sexual abuse that is everywhere in Israel. And if they can do that to their own, what can they do to us? And there'll be 3 links to the Facebook page, Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, and Sleight of Hand Job. The videos, go watch those, go like those, go share those. Go sub to that page while you like, share, and sub to this page, and everybody has a great fucking day. And most importantly, all of you pedos, kill yourself. Hey, Matt, good to see you. Sorry. Didn't notice you were here, but good to see you. Have a great day, dude. The Jay's cult needs to go. They're the friars, and yes, they absolutely do. See ya.